The year was 1863. The nation was tearing itself apart, brother against brother, state against state, a country drenched in blood. And in the small Pennsylvania town of Gettysburg, the Civil War reached its most violent climax for 3 days. In July, thunder roared across the hills, not from storms, but from cannon fire. The ground shook with the charge of thousands of men. Muskets cracked like lightning, and the air filled with screams of agony. When the smoke cleared, more than 50,000 soldiers lay dead, wounded, or missing. Fields that once grew crops were soaked in blood. Homes and churches became makeshift hospitals. The streets overflowed with corpses. Gettysburg was never the same, and some say it never healed for more than 150 years. Stories have spread of restless spirits still haunting those rolling hills. Soldiers who never left the battlefield. Ghostly regiments seen marching at twilight. Muffled cries heard on the wind. And the unmistakable echo of gunfire long after the cannons fell silent. Visitors to Gettysburg report cold hands brushing their shoulders, phantom footsteps trailing behind them, and apparitions in tattered uniforms appearing and vanishing. In the mist, soldiers who fought for freedom, soldiers who fought for cause, men who gave their lives but never found peace. Skeptics dismiss it as imagination, but historians know Gettysburg was no ordinary battle. It was chaos, carnage, and sacrifice on a scale America had never seen before. The land itself was drenched in suffering, and some believe that kind of pain never leaves. Could it be that Gettysburg is more than just a battlefield? Could it be a graveyard that still breathes? A cursed place where history refuses to stay, buried. Tonight, we'll journey back to the summer of 1863 and retrace the blood-soaked steps of America's most haunted battlefield. We'll explore the legends of phantom soldiers, haunted hospitals, and cursed ground. We'll hear the eyewitness accounts of those who claim they've seen the dead march again, and together we'll ask the question that has haunted Gettysburg for over a century. When so much death consumes one place, can it ever truly be at rest? Welcome to the curse of Gettysburg, ghosts of America's bloodiest battlefield. On July 1st, 1863, Union and Confederate forces clashed in the rolling hills of Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. Neither side had expected this sleepy farming town to become the site of the bloodiest battle in American history. But within hours, Gettysburg was consumed by war. The Confederates surged into town, pushing Union forces back through the streets. Civilians fled or hid in their basements as musket fire rattled through windows and cannon blasts tore through barns and fences. By the end of the first day, bodies lay scattered across the fields, and blood ran through the gutters of the town. Day 2 brought no relief. Fighting raged at Devil's Den, the wheat field, and Little Round Top. Men charged up hills only to be cut down in waves. The cries of the dying echoed across the valley. By nightfall, the ground was slick with blood, and the wounded moaned where they had fallen. Then came July 3rd, the infamous Pickett's Charge. Confederate soldiers marched across an open field into the heart of Union fire. Artillery rained down, tearing men apart by the dozens. Musket volleys ripped holes in the charging lines. By the time the Confederates retreated, the ground was a sea of corpses in just 3 days. More than 50,000 men were killed, wounded, or went missing. Gettysburg had become not just a turning point in the war, but a graveyard, and many believe those soldiers never left. When the fighting ended, the horror only deepened. The small town of Gettysburg was overwhelmed by death. Every home, barn, and church became a hospital. Surgeons worked day and night, sawing off limbs, stacking amputated arms and legs like firewood. The smell of blood and infection choked the air. The dead were buried quickly, often in shallow graves. Thousands of bodies lay under thin mounds of dirt, arms and boots, sometimes sticking out of the earth, Heavy rains washed away soil, exposing corpses again. The townspeople lived among the dead, unable to escape the constant reminders of what had happened. Some say this mass suffering left an imprint, a wound not just in history, but in the land itself. The ground became cursed, soaked with pain, death, and unanswered cries. And perhaps that's why, even today, people claim the battlefield isn't empty. Among Gettysburg's most haunted places are the buildings that once served as hospitals. The Farnsworth House, for example, sheltered Confederate sharpshooters during the battle. Today, guests report hearing phantom footsteps on the stairs and whispers in empty rooms. Some even claim to see the shadowy figure of a soldier in the attic window, rifle still in hand. The Jenny Wade house is another chilling sight. Jenny Wade was the only civilian killed during the battle, struck by a stray bullet while baking bread for Union soldiers. Her home became a morgue within hours. Visitors now report hearing the cries of a woman in the kitchen, the slam of doors, and the faint smell of bread baking, where no oven burns. And then there are the schools and churches that became operating rooms. Witnesses describe ghostly screams, the sound of saws cutting bone, and the weeping of spirits who never left the tables. These were not just homes and sanctuaries, they became places of agony, and their walls still remember. Step onto the fields of Gettysburg at dusk, and you might not be alone at Devil's Den. Visitors report seeing phantom soldiers, young men in ragged uniforms, staring silently before vanishing into the rocks. Cameras often malfunction here, capturing strange mists or glowing orbs where no light exists. On the fields of Pickett's charge, entire ghostly regiments have been reported. Tourists describe seeing soldiers march in formation across the field, only for the apparitions to fade as they approach. Others hear drums beating faintly on the wind, muskets firing in the distance, or the cries of men charging once again into the slaughter at the wheat field, a place so bloody it was called the harvest of death. Visitors speak of overwhelming dread, sudden chills, and disembodied voices whispering from the tall grass. Some even claim to feel unseen hands grabbing at their clothes. The soldiers of Gettysburg may be dead, but on these fields they march forever. Gettysburg is one of the most visited ghost destinations in America. Tour guides, historians, and paranormal investigators all tell the same story. Something lingers here. Visitors snap photos of glowing figures standing among tombstones. Park rangers hear gunfire long after the park has closed. Children tug on their parents, asking why that soldier was standing in the field, even though no reenactments were scheduled that day. Some stories are chillingly personal. Tourists walking Devil's Den have reported being stopped by a smiling man in a ragged uniform who warns them to be careful. When they turn back to thank him, he's gone at night. Groups walking the battlefield often hear entire volleys of gunfire, followed by screams. But when they rush toward the sound, the fields are silent, the darkness unbroken. Even skeptics admit Gettysburg feels heavy, as though the air itself remembers. Why does Gettysburg remain so haunted? Some say it's simple. When 50,000 men suffer violent deaths in one place, their spirits cannot rest. Others believe that trauma imprinted itself on the land, like a scar replaying itself for eternity. The battlefield is not just history, it is energy, sorrow, blood, and perhaps it is a warning that war never truly ends, that the dead never really leave us. Gettysburg stands today as a national park, a place of remembrance. But for many who walk its fields, it is more than remembrance. It is presence. The soldiers may be gone, but their cries still echo in the night. Gettysburg was meant to be a turning point in the Civil War, and it was. Union victory here shifted the tide of history. But for the men who fought, bled, and died on those rolling hills, there was no turning point, only silence, only shadows. More than 50,000 men were killed, wounded, or vanished in just 3 days. That kind of suffering does not fade with time. It lingers. It seeps into the soil, into the walls, into the very air. And perhaps that is why Gettysburg remains America's most haunted battlefield. For every official record of the battle, there is an unofficial story of phantom soldiers appearing at twilight, of muffled gunfire carried on the wind, of footsteps echoing through empty barns. Some dismiss these tales as imagination, tricks of light, or the fevered dreams of tourists wanting a thrill. But others believe these hauntings are something far more real. Maybe the soldiers of Gettysburg never left because they couldn't. Some were boys barely old enough to shave, cut down in their first battle. Others died far from home, their bodies never claimed by loved ones. Many were buried in shallow graves, their final resting places disturbed by rain, animals, or the relentless march of time. Their stories ended too soon. Their lives were unfinished, and that's what makes the ghosts of Gettysburg so chilling. They are not monsters. They are not legends. They are the restless echoes of real men, fathers, sons, brothers who fought for their cause and lost everything. When you walk the fields of Gettysburg today, you don't just walk through history, you walk among the fallen. Every step. You take crosses ground where someone once screamed, prayed, or bled their last breath. Every hill, every stone wall, every tree holds memories of violence and loss, and maybe that's why so many who visit say they feel it. The weight, the sorrow, the presence, a reminder that war never truly ends. Not for the living, and not for the dead. So the question remains, are these hauntings just stories? Or are they a warning from the men who gave everything that the cost of war is too high, too permanent, too damning? Gettysburg is not just a battlefield. It is a graveyard of unfinished stories. And whether you believe in ghosts or not, the silence of that place speaks louder than any voice. So tell me, do you think the spirits of Gettysburg still walk among us? Or are the ghosts we see there nothing more than reflections of our own guilt, our own grief, our own need to remember what we can never forget? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and if this story chilled you, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and ring the notification bell. Because America's history is not just written in books. It is whispered in the shadows, etched in blood, and carried by the ghosts who never left. And on this channel, we'll keep uncovering the mysteries, the legends, and the nightmares of the past. This has been the Curse of Gettysburg, Ghosts of America's Bloodiest Battlefield. Until next time, remember, the dead are never as far away as we think.